Hi, this is Brian with Android Mixer, and I'm going to be doing a full review of the Samsung Epic 4G Touch. I'm going to dive right in and start with the hardware specs for the device. If you remember from my initial unboxing video, the device has a 1.2 GHz dual-core Samsung Exynos processor. Now this is an ARM v7 dual-core CPU, and as you can see, there's no lag at all when swiping between the screens. Also on board is 1 GB of RAM and 4G WiMAX for Sprint. We've got a 4.52 display, which is Super AMOLED, and it's got one continuous piece of glass which goes from one edge of the device all the way to the other. There's a very small bezel, so the device actually feels a lot smaller than it actually is. The whole front of the device is basically taken up by the gorgeous display on the Galaxy S2 here. On the left side of the device, we've got the volume rocker and a spot that you can hook up a lanyard. On the front, we've got the display, the 2 megapixel front facing camera, and there's a status LED in the upper right corner. Then we've got the four standard capacitive buttons here at the bottom. On the bottom of the device, we've got the micro USB and the microphone. And the micro USB can also be used for HDMI output. On the right side of the device, we have the power button. On the back, we have an 8 megapixel camera with LED flash. And on the top, we've got the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. As you remember during the unboxing video, the back of this device is textured, which actually adds a really nice quality feel to the device. It doesn't feel quite as cheap as the older Galaxy series, and it's not going to scratch up as much back here, so it's a nice touch that Samsung added to this device. The device is also nice and light. It's only about 4.6 ounces. It's less than 10 millimeters thick at 9.59 millimeters. And it's got a really nice big battery here. It's 1800 milliamp hour battery. We've got the micro SD slot here, which supports up to 32 gigabytes of additional storage. And there's 16 gigabytes of storage on board the device already. The device also features Bluetooth 3.0 and has an optional USB host kit, which will allow the users to purchase accessories such as a keyboard and mouse and use that through the micro USB slot here on the bottom. I think that pretty much does it for the main hardware specs, so I'm going to move on and discuss my impressions about battery life. During the time that I've used this device, I've found that the Epic 4G Touch has amazing battery life, especially compared to my HTC Thunderbolt on Verizon and other 4G devices. The large battery capacity of 1800 milliamp hours is really helpful and generous, but I've also found that the AMOLED display by nature is really good for battery life because the panel only illuminates the pixels that are actually needed. So if you have really dark backgrounds and whatnot, those pixels are not wasting any power from your battery. Samsung also wisely downclocks the CPU when it's not needed for full performance to a lower clock speed, because a lot of times the 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor would be wasting battery if it was always running at full potential. I found during my testing that the device could sit idle in standby mode and get well over 4 days of battery life. I was at about 4.5 days with 15% left. Now granted, I did not use the device much during that time. I just wanted to test the standby battery time, but that's still very impressive that Samsung's been able to cut down on the idle usage of the device when it's not being used, and it really helps with the battery life. Now we're going to move on here and do some benchmarks for this device. And I just want to have a precursor before we dive in and do the benchmarks and remind everybody that benchmarks such as the Quadrant and NeoCore perform at the phone's native resolution. So the screen resolution on this device is actually an 800 pixels vertical by 480, and this is not a QHD display, which you've seen on a lot of recent devices, which is 960 pixels by 540. So this device, as you will see here in a second, still performs extremely well, but just keep in mind that it's got a lower resolution display, so some of the high graphics benchmarks perform better on lower resolution displays because there's not as much needed. So here we are, we're going to run Linpack for Android, and we're going to first run the single thread test, and it comes in at 55.96 megaflops. Now if we run multi-threaded, it comes in at 82.11. Now these are both very nice scores, but I'm going to move on to a Quadrant benchmark because that's what a lot of people base their benchmarks off of, and you'll see what true power the Galaxy S2 device has. So here we are in Quadrant Standard Edition, and I'm going to run a full benchmark. Now keep in mind, I've seen that the Quadrant benchmark might only be using one of the cores of the device, so it might only be using one of the cores running at 1.2 gigahertz clock speed. If that's the case, then the score for this benchmark might even be better than what you will see here in a second. There's no noticeable hitches in performance, and it was easily pumping out right around 59 to 60 frames per second on a lot of these animations here. So now for the benchmark result. As you can see, the Galaxy S2 here comes in at 3179, which is extremely high, one of the highest Quadrant scores I've ever seen on a stock device without running any custom software or custom ROMs. Now I'm going to do one last benchmark here, which is NeoCore, and that's going to test the frames per second a little more accurately than the Quadrant. So here goes NeoCore, and we're partway through the tests here. Now as you can see, we're not experiencing any noticeable performance hiccups or hitches along the way. And through my time with the device, I have not run into one time when I've seen any performance hiccups or jitters in the UI. Everything's been extremely smooth, and the device has performed way better than I even expected. I had really high expectations when I received the Epic 4G Touch, and everything's really lived up to those expectations. Only a couple more tests here and it should be complete. I think this is the longest benchmark out of all of them. And then we will move on to the call quality of the device, which a lot of times people overlook that nowadays with smartphones. They're more focused on performance, features, user interface. We're going to talk a little bit about call quality and the audio quality of the loudspeaker on the device, which is used for playing videos, music, speakerphone. I'm actually going to set this down as it finishes here. Not sure, I think it keeps looping through. I might have accidentally hit interactive mode, sorry about that. But when I ran that earlier, we got 59 frames per second in the NeoCore benchmark as well. So sorry I couldn't bring that up on the screen for you. But I'm going to go along here and show off the speakerphone, the loudspeaker on this device. I found in call quality, I made a number of phone calls for testing, and all of the recipients of my calls said that the call quality was great. They could hear me clearly, even with noise in the background, there must be noise cancellation that goes on with this device, which seems standard on all smartphones now. And the noise cancellation must have done its job, because call quality on my side and on their side of the call was great, which is really good to see in a high-end device like this, that they did not forget the earpiece quality, and the loudspeaker quality is nice as well. So here we'll play a quick clip of a YouTube video. I'm just going to look at one of the top videos here. Actually, how about I just search for an Android mixer video, and here we'll get a video that DJ has with a hands-on when the Motorola Xoom first came out. Let me crank up the volume here. As you can see, the volume coming from the GS2 is very loud, and it's not distorted, and it's nice and clear. The loudspeaker on the device is in the back, right here on the lower right corner of the device. So I was very pleased with the quality I got when watching videos and also playing games. So now I'll move on and I'll give you a little brief overview of TouchWiz user interface, which runs on top of Gingerbread 2.3.4, and it's actually TouchWiz 4.0, the latest Samsung interface available. So first of all, this is the standard lock screen available on TouchWiz. Now if I would have a missed call or a text message, there'd be a little tab here along the side, and I could swipe that tab and go straight to the missed call or the missed message. Unfortunately, right now I don't have any missed messages or calls, but it's a really nice feature. It's not as robust as Sense 3.0 or some custom interfaces, but it really gets the job done, and it's not over the top, and it's not clunky, and it doesn't get in the way. Now in the notification drawer here, we've got the power toggle widgets that you've come to expect from Samsung, the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, vibrate, and to enable and disable the 4G WiMAX. As I showed earlier briefly, if you pinch on the home screens, you can get a little expose type view. And also, Samsung has motion control for the device. Now I don't currently have it enabled, but the three main categories of motion control are turning the device face down will instantly mute all incoming audio, ringtones, media volume, so that you can easily place your device on your desk to mute the device. So it's very intuitive. It's just like you would think. You put it face down and you don't hear any sound. They also have the motion control for zooming in the browser, where you place two fingers on the screen and you tilt the device forward or backwards to zoom in or out. And then they also have the panning, where if you hold a widget on the main screen, you could tilt the device to the right or tilt the device to the left, and it would switch the screen which the widget or icon is on. So I'm going to move along and go into the browser here, which really looks like the stock Android browser, but they've just cleaned up the interface a little bit. The theme, the colors are fall in line more with the TouchWiz. And as you can see, they've got swipe enabled, which is the default keyboard on the Epic 4G Touch, and it comes preloaded. The browser is just as you would expect. It's fast. It works well with Flash. I haven't run into any issues during my testing with the browser, and I've been satisfied with all of the functionality. If you look at the windows, it's actually a lot better than the stock browser. Here we've got the Google search we just performed, and then here I just opened another window. Now both the windows you can easily scroll through, and if you're used to TouchWiz, you're probably already used to this feature, so it's nothing new. Now I'm going to go on and check out the calendar widget, which is really nice. It gives a full overview of the calendar, and it's got the my next upcoming date, which is actually a credit card payment here. Now if I click on the calendar, I can easily add an event. Now I want to go in and do a quick little demo of the contacts. And as you can see, these 4 icons here are docked at the bottom. So no matter what screen I switch to, those 4 main icons along the bottom, which are probably the most frequently used, are available to you. So let me go into my contacts here. And a cool little feature, if you find a contact, so here I want to give her a call, if I swipe to the left here, I can text message her. You see it says message. If I swipe to the right, it will instantly call that person. So it's a nice little interface tweak that Samsung's added, which makes it really easy to text message or call your contacts right from the contact list and not have to click the contact, go through the number, and then initiate the call or text message. Now I want to quickly talk about the preloaded Sprint apps. We've got the standard set of applications that come on all Sprint Android devices. Nothing special there. I just thought I would mention if you're against bloatware, there's a little bit of stuff that comes pre-packaged on this Sprint device. Now I'm going to quickly move away from that and talk about the voice commands. Voice commands on this device are awesome. It's actually powered by Vlingo, so it's not the stock vanilla Google voice commands, but it's actually really cool and really accurate. And once you get used to this, I found it to be a little bit better than Google's voice commands, but I'm not saying Google's voice commands are bad, because I think those are great as well. Also, Samsung's done a great job with their widgets. Now if I want to add a widget here on this screen, obviously I'll do the long press like normal, but now I can swipe between the different screens available, find an open spot for a widget. Now this screen's very open, so I'm going to click widgets here, and along the bottom comes a swipeable widgets bar. So let me see, I want to add the digital clock. So the digital clock is now on that screen. Oh, I also want to add, I don't know, my agenda. So now it shows that I've got my credit card payment coming up, and I can quickly back out of there. So overall, my impressions of this device are really great. I want to quickly show you some Cut the Rope, which is a game, and show you the performance that this device has. So it's got nice sound here. I'll turn it up so we can hear. I'm just going to play the first level here. I reset it so I could quickly go through and do something easy. So let's go in here and we'll select the first level. Everything's fast, fluid, no graphics hiccups. The colors are great. The viewing angle on this screen is awesome. No color distortion at all. The colors really pop off of the screen and are vibrant. Look at the yellows. The dark colors are really great, deep blacks, because it's a Super AMOLED display. Now everything's fluid. I can cut that. Drops right down into the little monster's mouth. Move on to the next level here. Oh, let's see. Whoops. So you get the idea. This device is really snappy. And my overall impressions, I'm going to do a quick wrap up here of the Epic 4G Touch on Sprint. It's a great Samsung Galaxy S2 device, great Samsung hardware. The build quality is really impressive. Going from the Galaxy S to the Galaxy S2 will be a shock for most people, because Samsung's really stepped up their quality. Although it feels really lightweight, and some people equate weight with quality, I would challenge you not to do that, because this device is really solid. I love how the battery door comes on and off. It doesn't feel cheap. It snaps in and off really easy, but it doesn't just pop off. The battery is a great size. The screen is beautiful. Really great performance. You've got a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processor in here. So I would say the Galaxy S2 is definitively the best Android device available on the market today. The performance is amazing, and the overall experience is highly enjoyable. Samsung's even done a good job with their interface that they ship on the device. Most people don't like custom interfaces, but I don't really think that TouchWiz 4.0 is a huge deal to have. It doesn't slow down this device at all, and Samsung's done a great job with the interface. So thank you for watching this review, and please check out Android Mixer. Thank you.